So this is the story of Jesus' betrayal. I will be sharing the story of Jesus and his disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane. So how this story begins in the Gospels of Matthew and Mark is that Jesus immediately informs his disciples that they will be lost and scattered without him after his death and crucifixion. Then Jesus also reminds his disciples that he himself will also go ahead of them after he himself has been raised from the dead back into the province of Galilee. Now Jesus immediately informs Peter that Peter will deny him 3 times. He immediately responds to Jesus and says to him, "Master, I will never fall away from you." So Jesus is followed into the Garden of Gethsemane by his disciples. He takes with him Peter, James, and John. Now this is according to the Gospels of Matthew and Mark. Now Jesus takes Peter, James, and John into the Garden of Gethsemane with him so that he will be able to share with them how Jesus is actually feeling. Because of the large amount of anxiety and stress. Now Jesus says to them, "I am deeply grieved, even to the point of death. Remain here with me and stay awake." Now Jesus, going a little further, falls to his knees and begins to pray, saying, "O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass away from me. Not what I want, but what you want." Now I think Jesus is not wanting to get out of fulfilling his heavenly Father's wishes, but he is wishing that he could do it some other way. Now Jesus returns to his disciples and finds them asleep. He says to Peter, "Could you not stay awake with me for 1 hour?" Now again Jesus asks Peter to stay awake with him. Pray that you do not have to go through this. Now here, Jesus himself is immediately struggling. "My spirit is willing, but my flesh is weak." Now Jesus himself leaves 2 more times to pray to his heavenly Father, saying, "If there is no other way for me to accomplish your will, then let whatever you need me to do happen." Now each time Jesus returned to his disciples, he found them asleep because they were extremely tired and exhausted. Now, after Jesus' 3rd and final prayer to God, he returns to his disciples and finds them asleep once more. Strictly speaking to them, Jesus says to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? This is enough. My hour has come to be betrayed into the hands of sinners." Now Jesus immediately and sternly speaks to his disciples and says to them, "Get up, let us be going. See, my betrayal is at hand." Here Jesus knows that Judas is approaching, and he also is aware that the Roman soldiers, along with the temple officials, are on their way to arrest him. Now Judas immediately approaches Jesus and greets Jesus with a kiss on the cheek in the Garden of Gethsemane. Now this signals to the temple officials that they are to arrest Jesus immediately. Now Peter immediately reacts to Jesus' arrest by cutting off the ear of the slave of the high priest Caiaphas. Now Jesus immediately says to Peter, "Put your sword away." Reminds Peter that he is meant to suffer all these things that his heavenly Father has given him. Now, the Roman soldiers, along with the Jewish temple officials, immediately lead Jesus away for trial.